Into the north window of my chamber glows the pole star within uncanny light. All through the long hellish hours of the blackness it shines there, and in the autumn of the year, where the winds from the north curse and whine, and the red-leaved trees of the swamp mutter things to one another in the small hours of the morning under the horned wind and moon, I sit by the casement and watch the star, down from the heights and rails of the glittering Casophia as the hours wear on, while Charles Wayne lumbers up from behind the vapour-soaked trees that sway in the night wind. Just before dawn, Arcturus winks ruddily from above the cemetery on the low hillock, and Coma Beresius shimmers widely afar off in the mysterious east. But still the pole star leers down from the same place in the black vault, winking hideously, like an insane watching eye that strives to convey some strange message, yet recalls nothing save for it had once a message to convey. Sometimes, when it is cloudy, I can sleep. Well do I remember the night of the great aurora, when over the swamp played the shocking crustaceans of the demon light. After the beams came clouds, and then I slept. And under a horned waning moon that I saw the city for the first time, still and somnolent did it lie, on a strange plateau in the hollow betwixt strange peaks. Of ghastly marble were its walls and its towers, its columns, domes and pavements. In the marble streets were marble pillars, the upper parts of which were carven into the images of grave, bearded men. The air was warm and stirred not, and overhead, scarce 10 degrees from the zenith, glowed that watching pole star. Long did I gaze on the city, but the day came not. When the red Albarian, which blinked low in the sky but never set, had crawled a quarter of the way around the horizon, I saw the light and motion in the houses and the streets. Forms strangely robed, but at once noble and familiar, walked abroad. Under the horned waning moon men talked wisdom in tongue which I understood, though it was unlike any language I had ever known. And when the red Aldebarian had crawled more than halfway around the horizon, there were again darkness and silence. When I awakened, I was not as I had been. Upon my memory was graven the vision of the city, and within my soul had arisen another and vaguer recollection, of whose nature I was not with the certain. Thereafter, on cloudy nights when I could sleep, I saw the city often, sometimes under that horned waning moon, and sometimes under the hot yellow rays of the sun, which did not set, but which wheeled low around the horizon. And on clear nights the pole star leered as never before. Gradually I came to wonder what might my place be in that strange plateau betwixt strange peaks. At first content to view the scene as an all-observant, uncorporeal presence, I now desired to define my relation to it, and to speak my mind amongst the grave men who conversed each day in the public squares. I said to myself, this is no dream, for by what means can I prove the greater reality of the other life in the house of stone and brick south of this sinister swamp, and the cemetery on the low hillock where the pole star peers into my north window each night? One night, as I listened to the discourse in the large square containing many statues, I felt a change, and perceived that I had at last a bodily form. Nor was I a stranger in the street of Othro, which lies on the plateau of Sarkis, betwixt the peaks Norton and Cephalic. It was my friend also who spoke, and his speech was one that pleased my soul, for it was the speech of a true man and a patriot. That night had the news come of Darichos's fall, and of the advance of the Inato squat hellish yellow fiends who 5 years ago had appeared out of the unknown west to revenge the confines of our kingdom, and finally to besiege our towns. Having taken the fortified places at the foot of the mountains, their way now lay open to the plateau, unless every citizen could resist with the strength of 10 men. For the squat creatures were mighty in the arts of war, and knew not of the scruples and honours which held back our tall, grey-eyed men of Lomar and ruthless conquest. Polais, my friend, was commander of the forces on the plateau, and in him lay the last hope of our country. On this occasion he spoke of the perils to be faced, and exhorted the men of Ulthro, bravest of the Lominarians, to sustain the traditions of their ancestors, who, when forced to move southward from Zobna before the advance of the great ice sheet, even in our descendants must some day flee from the land of Lomar, valiantly and victoriously swept aside the hairy, long-armed cannibals that stood in their way. To me, Polais denied a warrior's part, for I was feeble and given to strange faintings and subject to stress and hardships. But my eyes were the keenest in the city, despite the long hours I give each day to the study of Nucadic manuscripts and the wisdom of Zabarian fathers. So, my friend, desiring not to doom me to inaction, rewarded me with a duty which was second to nothing in importance. To the watchtower of Thapnan he sent me, there to serve as the eyes of our army, should the Anatos attempt to gain the citadel by the narrow pass behind the peak Norton, and thereby surprise the garrison. I was to give the signal of fire, which would warn the waiting soldiers to save the town from immediate disaster. Alone I mounted the tower, for every man and stout body was needed in the passes below. My brain was dazed with excitement and fatigue, for I had not slept in many days, yet was my purpose firm. For I loved my native land of Lomar and the marble city of Ulthro, that lay betwixt the peaks of Norton and Cafriphonic. But as I stood in the tower's topmost chamber, I beheld the horned waning moon, red and sinister, quivering through the vapours that hovered over the distant valley of Banoff, and through an opening in the roof glittered the pale pole star, fluttering as if alive, and leering like a fiend and tempter. Methought its spirit whispered evil counsel, soothing me to traitorous somnolence with its damnable rhythmic promise, which repeated over and over, "Slumber, watcher, till the spheres, 26,000 years, have revolved, I return to the spot where I now burn. Other stars anon shall rise to the axes of the skies, stars that soothe and stars that bless with the sweet forgetfulness. Only when the round is over shall the past disturb thy door." Vainly did I struggle with the drowsiness, seeking the content and strange words with some lore of the skies which I had learnt from the pneumatic manuscripts. My head, heavy and reeling, drooling to my breast, when I next looked up, and it was in a dream, with the pole star grinning at me through a window from over the horrible swaying trees of the dream swamp, and I am still dreaming. In my shame, I desire to sometimes scream frantically, begging the dream creatures around me to waken me ere in Anatus and steal up the pass behind the peak, Norton, and take the citadel by surprise. But these creatures are demons, for they laugh at me and tell me that I am not dreaming. They mock me whilst I sleep, and whilst the squat yellow foe may be creeping silently upon us. I have failed in my duty and betrayed the marble city of Ulthro. I have proven false to Polais, my friend the commander, but still these shadows of my dream deride me. They say that there is no land of Lomar, save in my nocturnal imaginings, that in those realms where the pole star shines high and red Albarian claws low around the horizon, there has been naught save ice and snow for thousands of years, and never a man save squat yellow creatures, blighted by the cold, whom they call Eskimos. And I writhe in my guilty agony, frantic to save the city whose peril every moment grows, and vainly striving to shake off the unnatural dream of the house of stone and brick south of the sinister swamp, in a cemetery on a low hillock. The pole star, evil and monotonous, leers down from the black vault, winking hideously like an insane watching eye which strives to convey some strange message, yet recalls nothing save for it once had a message to convey.